Ever think about how much weight a simple "I'm sorry" can carry? I mean, something we say all the time,
Right.
but sometimes those two words can echo across generations.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're going to be looking at today.
Okay.
Um, the world of public apologies, how they've evolved
Right.
from personal acts of, saying you're sorry to, well, these days it seems like they're carefully calculated strategies.
Yeah, you've given us some really interesting sources on this.
Yeah.
We've got stories from all over the world, different centuries.
Hmm.
We're going to look at everything from the Salem witch trials
That's right.
all the way to the kind of apologies we see today going viral on the internet.
Yeah, and it's not just about history.
Right.
As the world changes, as we try to figure out how to deal with, well, frankly, all the wrongs of the past,
Mm-hmm.
understanding apologies helps us figure out what's sincere and what's just for show.
Right.
And that's important.
Okay, let's take a trip back in time. 1692, colonial America. Can you imagine a community that was so afraid
Yeah.
that just being accused of witchcraft could get you imprisoned or even killed?
It's a dark chapter, the Salem witch trials, fueled by paranoia and what some historians call satanic panic.
Wow.
The Puritans were already very suspicious of, well, evil.
Right.
So it was easy for them to get caught up in all that hysteria.
And then there's Judge Samuel Sewall, one of the judges in charge of the trials.
Right, one of nine.
And what's amazing is that years later,
Mm-hmm.
he felt so guilty about his role in it.
Consumed by guilt, yeah.
In 1697, he did something incredible. He stood up in a Boston church and had his apology read out loud. He admitted he was wrong, took responsibility, and asked for forgiveness
Wow.
from the community and from God.
Can you imagine the courage it took to do that back then?
I know, right?
To admit you were wrong,
Yeah.
especially about something like witchcraft.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody did that. Sewall was ostracized, but his apology, it's still powerful centuries later. Why do you think that is?
Well, it really makes you think about the power of genuine remorse, even if it comes decades later.
Right.
It raises a big question, though. How do we deal with the wrongs of the past?
Exactly. And that leads to intergenerational accountability.
Okay.
The idea that, well, we bear some responsibility for what our ancestors did.
And we see this play out centuries later with Lee Greenslet.
Mm-hmm.
His ancestor, Ann Pudiator, was hanged as a witch in Salem.
Oh, wow.
He spent years trying to clear her name. Really shows how complicated these historical injustices are and how we're still figuring out how to address them. I mean, can apologies really heal wounds from generations ago?
Tough question.
What's our responsibility to acknowledge and try to fix the wrongs of the past?
Yeah, these are questions that, well, societies all over the world are still wrestling with.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit.
Right.
Instead of looking at one person taking responsibility,
Mm.
what about a whole nation trying to make amends for its past?
Okay. That brings us to post-World War II Germany,
Right.
a country trying to come to terms with the horrors of the Holocaust and where it stood in the world after all that.
1970, Willy Brandt, the German chancellor, does something that's seen all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
He's at the Warsaw Ghetto Memorial, and in a moment of complete silence, he falls to his knees.
Yeah, there's so much power in actions, isn't there? That image of Brandt kneeling, it said everything about Germany taking responsibility, wanting forgiveness.
And what makes it even more powerful is Brandt's own story. He fought against the Nazis, even had to run from Germany when they were in power.
Right, he put his life on the line. So his apology, well, it had real weight behind it. But it's important to remember not everyone felt the same way about what Brandt did.
Oh, really?
Some people praised him for his courage, but others thought he went too far.
Mm.
That he didn't have the right to speak for the whole country.
Makes you think, can a whole nation really apologize if its people don't all agree on the past?
It's a tough one.
And that question, it comes up again and again throughout history, right?
Yeah.
It's still relevant today. We see it in the debates about national apologies, reparations, especially for things like slavery and colonialism.
Yeah.
It's a struggle to reconcile with the past and find a way to heal and move forward. Now, fast forward a few decades.
Okay.
We're in what some people call the Gilded Age. Apologies are everywhere.
Right, it's like apologies have become a kind of currency. We see them for everything. Companies messing up, celebrities making bad choices, even just everyday interactions.
And one of the biggest moments in this evolution of apologies is the Clinton impeachment. President Clinton apologized twice for the Monica Lewinsky scandal.
Yeah, two very different apologies.
Right. His first apology was almost like a legal defense.
Right.
He focused on defending his actions and the difference between his public life and private life. But a lot of people thought it wasn't sincere, and he didn't seem truly sorry.
It didn't go over well.
So there was this pressure for him to apologize again, and this time it was more personal. He used religious language and really talked about repenting.
It's interesting how that second apology, even with all the controversy around the scandal, became like a model for public figures.
Right.
It showed how to use an apology to try to repair your image.
Then the internet comes along.
Yeah.
And everything changes. Social media, it amplifies everything.
It does.
Apologies can spread like wildfire. Think about it. A tweet or a video can reach millions of people in minutes.
Instantly.
So people demand sincerity and action because now they can hold people and institutions accountable in ways they never could before. But in this age of instant judgment and viral apologies, are we seeing more genuine remorse and people trying to make things right? Or are we just seeing a fancier way of putting on a show?
It's a good question, and that's what we're going to look at next. We'll delve into restorative justice and whether it offers a more meaningful path to healing and accountability.
So we were just talking about how the internet has really changed things when it comes to apologies, public apologies. It's so easy to get caught up in how they look, the performance of it all. But is there a way to get beyond just saying sorry and do something more meaningful?
Yeah, that's where the idea of restorative justice comes in.
Okay.
It's about focusing on repairing the harm that was done and having a conversation between a person who was hurt and the person who did the hurting.
So it's not just about saying, I'm sorry, but actually acknowledging what your actions did to someone else.
Exactly. It's about taking responsibility, understanding each other, and working together to find a solution that helps everyone involved.
You mentioned before that it's not enough to just apologize. What are some real-world examples of how restorative justice actually works?
Okay, well, let's take a look at Tommy Shakur Ross. He was in a gang and spent over 30 years in prison.
Wow.
While he was in prison, he was part of a restorative justice program. He wrote apology letters to the people he had hurt through his actions.
That must have been incredibly tough for him, to confront all the pain he caused and try to express remorse after so many years.
Oh, absolutely. And, we don't even know if his victims ever got those letters or read them. But what's powerful about Shakur's story is that he was willing to take responsibility, even though he didn't know if he'd ever be forgiven.
It really shows you that a true apology takes a lot of courage.
Yeah.
You have to admit how your actions affected another person, even if it's painful.
It's about being vulnerable, yeah. And that vulnerability can be a powerful force for personal change. Shakur's story proves that even in the toughest situations, there's still potential for growth and healing.
We've been focusing on individual acts of restorative justice. But can this approach work on a bigger scale, like within communities or even whole societies dealing with historical injustices?
That's a great question. And to get some answers, let's hear from Dr. Tesha Bank.
Okay.
She's the Executive Director of Restorative Justice for Oakland Youth. And she says restorative justice isn't just a set of rules or practices. It's a way of seeing the world.
A worldview.
Yeah, and she believes it has the power to change how we approach conflict and harm completely.
So she sees it as more than a temporary fix. What are some examples of this worldview in action?
Well, Dr. Banks says more and more people are interested in restorative justice. We're seeing mayors, police departments, schools, even entire cities exploring how it can help resolve conflicts, build relationships, and make communities safer.
So it's not just about individuals seeking forgiveness or making amends. It's about building systems and structures that promote healing and understanding on a much larger scale.
Absolutely. It's about changing our thinking from punishment to repairing the harm that's been done and addressing the root causes of conflict.
If restorative justice is so effective, why isn't it used more often? What are some of the hurdles to implementing it on a wider scale?
Dr. Bank points out that restorative justice often happens behind closed doors. It relies on private conversations and confidential processes.
Oh, okay.
So it doesn't always make the news or go viral on social media.
I guess it requires a level of trust and vulnerability that can be hard to find, especially in today's world, where everything feels so fast-paced and divided.
You got it. It takes commitment to open and honest dialogue, empathy, and truly listening to those who've been hurt. That's not always easy, especially when emotions are running high.
It's definitely different from those quick apologies we see online, where it's all about appearances without any real substance.
Right. Restorative justice isn't about quick fixes or easy answers. It's about making a long-term commitment to building relationships, repairing the harm that's been done, and working towards a society that's more just and fair.
So what you're saying is, if we really want to get past all the superficial apologies and move toward real healing and reconciliation, we need to be willing to embrace the messy and complex reality of restorative justice.
I think that's a great way to put it. It's not a simple or easy path, but it's one that offers real hope for transformation and lasting change.
This has been so insightful. But before we finish up, I'm still wondering about public apologies and their place in all of this. Do they have any value in the context of restorative justice? So we've been talking about restorative justice as a way to really heal and make things right. But it makes me wonder, where do public apologies fit in? I mean, are they still important? Or are they just for show in a world where people are skeptical about whether anyone's really sorry?
Yeah, that's a question a lot of people are asking. And to
Yeah.
figure that out, I think we have to look at the different roles public apologies can have, even within restorative justice.
Okay, so even with restorative justice, there's still a place for public apologies. How does that work?
Well, first, a public apology can be a really powerful way to acknowledge that harm was done. Remember Willy Brandt kneeling at the Warsaw Ghetto Memorial? That image went around the world. It
Yeah.
wasn't just Brandt saying he was sorry, it was a whole nation facing its past in front of everyone.
That's true. But some people might say it was just symbolic, a gesture without any real action behind it.
That's a fair point. An apology by itself, especially a public one, it's rarely enough. There have to be concrete actions that show you're really committed to change. And that leads us to the second role of a public apology. It's a way to signal that you're going to make things right.
So it's about putting your money where your mouth is. What would that look like in a real situation?
Sure. Let's say a company makes a product that turns out to be faulty and it ends up hurting people. A real apology wouldn't just be about saying they're sorry.
Right?
They'd have to recall the product, offer compensation to the people who were affected, and make sure it never happens again.
That makes sense. It's about taking responsibility and showing that you're willing to fix what you broke. But what about those apologies that feel fake? Like they're just trying to protect their image. Are those totally meaningless?
Well, that's where the third role of a public apology comes in. It can open up a conversation and hold people accountable.
Yeah.
Even if an apology doesn't sound sincere, it can make people start talking. They start asking questions, looking closely at what's being done, and demanding more.
So even if the apology itself isn't perfect, it can be a starting point for making real changes.
Exactly. It can give power to the people who are hurt so they can share their stories, fight for what they need, and push for change at a deeper level. It creates a space for everyone to talk about how to move forward.
This has been really eye-opening, but as we wrap up, I'm still thinking about how we as individuals deal with all these apologies, the public ones and the private ones. How do we know what's real and what's not, and how do we see the potential for things to actually get better?
That's the challenge we all face. And here's something to think about as you come across apologies in your own life. What makes an apology sincere? What actions show that someone is truly sorry? And in the end, can apologies really lead to healing and making things right?
Those are some big questions to think about. And that's a wrap on our deep dive into the power and the problems with public apologies. We hope this conversation is giving you a new way of looking at apologies. Keep asking questions, keep learning, and keep diving deep.